It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy.
It's time to take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us socially at Turner O'Neill Podcast or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Thanks to our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team and Dynamic DJ Entertainment. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. Now, we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Here's your host, Curtis Cross.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 2. We are here in the studio with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Guys, it's week 2. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Excited to get it going.
Episode 2. Let's go. Game day. I texted you this morning early.
Do you understand that us who are in the music business, we go to sleep late? So you guys who are fired up for, weightlifting with your guys and doing all this and getting into the office, I was up early because there was an important announcement made out of Ashburn, Virginia today. So I was up early checking texts and tweets. But yeah, you were fired up this morning. You sure were. And someone at this table did not send the double exclamation points after you sent that statement or that text.
It's very simple to the point. Game day.
As it always will be each Monday when we record here. Gentlemen, I have a weird headline for you. Randall Cunningham is the new team chaplain for the Las Vegas Raiders. What are we thinking about that?
I just remember Randall running all over us. Making some unbelievable plays with his feet. I just remember those long 5 yards of stride. Onto a new venture.
I would agree. I have those, I wouldn't say nightmares, but remembering being so frustrated watching him just elude guys like probably Dexter Manley and Charles Mann and getting around. And to our, I guess, one of the last times we're going to say Washington Redskins playing the Eagles. And then he had a nice little career in Minnesota. He went up to the Vikings. But I think it's neat to have, like you said, Steve, like a new venture, somebody that's a little spiritual myself to see him do that, to what sounds crazy, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders. Now, is that, when he went to Minnesota, was that pre or post Jerry curl?
That was post.
That was he got rid of the Jerry curl for the Minnesota years?
It was kind of early. Do you have a little stash, too, with that? No?
Yeah, I don't know, but I do remember the Jerry curl. Ladies and gentlemen, Randall Cunningham is the new team chaplain for the Las Vegas Raiders. The starting 5.
This week's Starting 5 is brought to you by the Tamara Cusick Team. Ready, set, sold. With a proven track record in real estate, call 301-580-5002 or visit Tamara4Homes. That's the number 4.com. The Tamara Cusick Team, with over $1 billion in real estate sales since 2005.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump right into the starting 5 so that I have 5 questions. Each coach will get 30 seconds each. Chrissy has a buzzer over there. She's going to count it down. They have not seen these questions before. I will fire off the questions. Each coach will get 30 seconds to answer them. Coach Casey O'Neill, you are first. Best meal you had this week?
Wow, best meal. I am a pasta guy, and I love spaghetti. I love any type of pasta. I had a nice pasta with meatballs and marinara. It was very simple last night. The meatballs were actually frozen. They come from Omaha Steaks. I don't think there's anything Omaha Steaks doesn't send or bring in. So we heated those bad boys up. I had some spaghetti and meatballs. It reminds me of being just a young kid. But I cannot get away that my wife, before I came to record tonight, had a nice pulled chicken in the crock pot with some barbecue sauce.
Not the crock pot.
Yeah, the crock pot with a little root beer in there. Oh, man. So just a shout out to my beautiful wife, Erica, part of the Tamara Cusick team, by the way, that made that pulled chicken barbecue tonight.
Coach Turner, best meal of the week?
I love seafood, and I have to say, splurged on some crabs and some shrimp this weekend, but not my favorite meal of the week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I missed that text.
I have to say, my mother-in-law is an unbelievable cook. Cooks for us almost every single night.
That'll be Lynn.
Yes, Lynn Daring. Outside of those nights that maybe I'm throwing some things out on the grill, but this week she made some steak, sauteed spinach and onions.
Oh,
It was delicious.
And you didn't bring us a doggy bag. Was there any left?
Actually, there was a piece of steak left, I have
right.
to say, but that was steak and eggs for breakfast the next morning.
Gotta have that. Gotta do that. Next question, Coach Turner, Patrick Mahomes. Talk to me about that contract. The first 99 rated player on Madden this year, Patrick Mahomes. What about that contract?
Changing the game. Changing how things are going to be out here. I'd love to be his son right now. I'd love to be the one who's going to fall into that money into his lap. But my only concern is organization, how that affects financially. I mean, it's going to be a lot of people demanding and asking for that money. Certainly, they're going to have to do some of the things that he did to earn that.
Of course.
But I worry when you start seeing those numbers in football compared to what you've seen in other sports. You know, LeBron with his basketball money, that could be a game changer in the game of football.
Coach O'Neill.
You know, I think it's amazing to see a young man, and great, he had a nice college career. I think that's overlooked, coming from Texas Tech. But you don't think of, a young man coming from Texas Tech and who's the impact he had immediately. And he had 1 year as a backup, and to do what he did his second year, and then in the third year to win a Super Bowl. That's baseball money. That's crazy money. But as I said before, sports today are individual driven. They are individual market driven, and you just see that in all the sports, whether it be NFL, baseball, NBA for sure, with what LeBron does, and all the different individuals in the NBA. Man, that's a lot of money, but seems like a great young man. So happy for him.
Kara Larson at Duke. Coach Turner.
Whew. I'm loving it. Homegrown girl, or I should say woman, who did it at every level. She was unbelievable in high school here in the DMV. Heck of a player down in Tennessee. Did her thing in the pros. One of the first women of NBA basketball going and have an opportunity to coach with Brad Stevens, and now able to run her own program. I'm so excited for her. Can't wait to watch what she does at Duke.
Coach O'Neill.
Yeah, look, as the father of two young ladies, myself, who love, the littlest one is not, doing the sports yet, but I love just following women, like you said, like locally, that get after it, that work hard. Nothing worth something is just given to you, and she just shows that she's just at every level. You know what I mean? And being able to adapt and change from the women's game to the NBA to back to the college game. I mean, it's awesome.
You finished right on time. Number 4. What is on your playlist, Coach Turner?
Whew. You know the first one, Tribe.
A TCQ.
Tribe Called Quest. So, little Tribe, little J. Cole, little Jay-Z.
Get with this.
Meek Mills. Got to have some Biggie all the way. But I tell people that I'm a little jack of all trades when it comes to music.
Oh, we know something about you. You better tell the people.
I definitely will dance to the Percolator. But
no, not that one.
The 80s. I'm an 80s
Yeah.
Hall & Oates. That's my band, and I love a lot of 80s music.
I'll be in my office across the hall from Steve, and I'll hear some Hall & Oates just
Is he-
blaring out of there on game day.
Is he dancing to Man Eater? That's what he's doing. She's a man
Not that
eater.
song. No.
Coach O'Neill.
My playlist is variety. I'm a 90s rap guy. That's what I sort of growing up in the 80s and 90s, 90s rap. I love country music. I didn't start loving country music till my wife kind of got me into that in the early 2000s. I love some rock and roll, but the 80s too. Recently, I've been going back into the 80s and getting, not only Hall & Oates, but a little bit of Genesis and a little bit of some of those 80s songs that just kind of get me fired up as I work out in the morning.
All right. Singing in the shower kind of thing. I know what you do. Coach O'Neill, your next question. The final of the starting 5. You got to pick one. Okay?
Okay.
Serena Williams or Tom Brady. Who are you going with?
Oh, wow.
You need to win a tennis match or you need to win a football game. Who are you going with?
All right. Well, have loved watching Tom Brady compete, and a little bit of a Michigan factor too. I always thought he was underappreciated at the University of Michigan. My sister graduated from there, so followed him there. But Serena, again, I'm going to go back to being the father of 2 strong young women and married to a great woman. I love seeing what Serena has done. I love seeing how she has sustained her career and winning was it Wimbledon? when she was with child.
She was
winning.
She was.
I mean, come on. We're all fathers here. To see somebody do that, winner, right there.
Chrissy, your buzzer doesn't mean anything to these guys. They just keep going.
Timer. That timer.
You get 30 seconds. That's the name of the game. That's how you play the game.
Comes quick. But
yes.
Of the two, I'm with Casey on that one. I'm Serena Williams. I think what she has been able to do since she got in the game, to be able to win the way she has, to be able to win with such grace, to be a leader in women's sports, and for women of today, being that idol for these young ladies to see, and how she's done it. I mean, like you said, going back to Wimbledon, winning Wimbledon with child in your stomach.
Right.
I don't think you can beat that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we call the starting five. Each week, I'm going to start off the broadcast with 5 questions the coaches have not heard yet. They'll have 30 seconds each to answer it. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the starting five.
This segment of Take ATO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by Dynamic DJ Entertainment.
You become the star right here with the DJ Chrissy Karaoke Show. Choose your song and step to the mic.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first call-in guest on Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. He is Joey Terronez. He is from Wheaton, Maryland. He's an NFL junkie, Redskins fan. He's a fantasy football guru. Most importantly, he does work at Capitol Grill. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Joey T.
All right.
Joey T, are you there?
Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
All right, Joey T. I'm here. I've got Coach Turner. I've got Coach O'Neill here. And we are requesting at some point that you bring in Capitol Grill for us. Can we get that on the show? We'll give you a plug, but can we get that here on the show?
I can make it happen. I can make it happen for you, gentlemen. Don't worry.
All right. I want you to tell. Oh, I'm sorry, O'Neill. You got something?
Yeah, we got some gear for you. If you make that happen, we got some gear. Gear keeps coming up, doesn't it, Curtis?
A lot of swag.
There's some gear sitting over there. Ladies and
studio.
gentlemen, can I get another round of applause? Coach O'Neill brought me some gear today.
Thank you.
All right, Paula, check out the
your
gear.
word, huh?
Come on.
He's a man of his word. Paula, check out the gear. Joey, I need to hear from you. This is a big day in Washington football history. I'll say one more time, Washington Redskins football history. Tell me what your take is. What are you hearing on the street? You're sending me tweets last night before I even got tweets this morning. So what do you got? Talk to me, Joey.
Well, I'd first like to start off by saying I'm a third-generation Redskins fan. My father was a huge Redskins fan. My grandfather was a Redskins fan before him. He actually had season tickets for like 40 years. So I remember going to RFK Stadium with bleachers just rocking and vibrating and the energy just going crazy as a kid. I'd also like to kind of just speak on behalf of Redskins Nation and say that I think that it is about time that the Redskins name changes. I do understand that the origins of the name came with racist undertones. And, in this day and age, we're not here to support that any longer. But I would also say that 99% of Redskins fans, or at least I've never met a Redskins fan that heard the name and thought negatively or malice towards Native Americans. So I would say that is something to keep in mind when you talk about. I've been called on social media platforms racist because I support the Washington Redskins. So as far as the fan base goes, it's just a team name for us. So most people are going to move on, and when the new name gets released, may take a little bit of time to get our feet wet, but we'll dive in head first. As far as the name goes, I am looking at some prop bets from Bet Online, and it has the Red Tails. It has the Red Tails at 3-1, the Generals at 4-1, the Warriors at 4-1, the Presidents at 5-1, and then my personal favorite is actually 6-1. It's the Red Wolves. Now, I've heard a lot of different things. Last I had heard that the Warriors was a big favorite of Dan Snyder.
He's got the trademark. Yeah, he did.
Got the trademark. It's military based, or at least that's what I think they're going to plan on marketing it as. Now, I worry that Warriors is a little too close to the Native American theme. he has come out and said he wants to stay away from the Native American theme as much as possible. I think that people may tie that in a little bit more to Native Americans. As a matter of fact, I read an article today, I think I sent it to you, Curtis, by John Keim, where he interviewed Carla Fredericks, the director of American Indian Law Clinic and director of First Peoples Worldwide. And she said that Washington has to think about making it right, and that name, the Warriors, doesn't seem like it's headed in that direction. So we're getting a little pushback already from Native Americans from the idea of the name, the Warriors. So I think we're probably going to avoid that situation as him and Ron Rivera are talking it over. My second favorite is Red Tails.
Oh,
of course. I do really like the, kind of the pendulum swinging to the other side of, the racial negativity and honoring minorities, and in this case, the first African-American fighter pilots in World War II. That's what the Red Wings are named after. And
Red Tails?
It was Red Tails. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The Red Tails. That's what they were. That was a huge stepping stone in the military advancement of African Americans, and that was a time when the country wasn't necessarily taking care of African Americans, but they were still stepping up and actually being very efficient as far as their military background.
Joey, you did some homework.
It
sounds like you did some homework here, sir.
Well, I don't want to come out here and not know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying, Curtis?
Right.
My only issue with the Red Tails is I do think the name itself doesn't flow as much as I personally would like. It will grow on me. Don't you worry. I will gladly figure out a way to market it myself or any which way, and I will fall in love with it if that's what it becomes. But my personal favorite would be the Red Wolves. Now this it's safe. This is a safe name. I guess one of my big things is I don't want to ever change this name again. I don't want to go through this again. I don't want negative publicity because of our team name again. And, a name like the Warriors, like we mentioned earlier, may have some negative connotations down the line. I think that naming it after an animal is a good niche, and it's very safe. And also, wolves are related to dogs. Everybody loves dogs. I love dogs. Like, if you want likes on social media, put a dog in your video and all of a sudden everybody's going to love your video. You know what I mean? It's like, am I wrong about this?
You got to join.
You've done your research. Absolutely.
You could play it off the dog angle, but also, wolves are ferocious, man. Everybody knows, wolves travel in packs. That gives you that teamwork mentality. People already, Redskins Nation on Twitter is already talking about howling on the, on first downs and, when Chase Young gets his first sack and, things of that nature. So it's definitely a fierce, strong, safe option. And personally, I just, I love dogs. My first dog that I ever owned was actually a German Shepherd Wolf mix. So it was a hybrid. And so I've actually always been very partial towards wolves. They're one of my favorite animals in general. So
Joe, you're killing me here. You got dog stories, Joe. Did you and I not sit through the Redskins and Eagles on a Monday night game for the world to see in the rain? And I swear after the first quarter, the Redskins were down 28-0 or something, weren't they? You probably remember better than me.
I think there was a nickname for that game. It might have been the Monday Night Massacre, if I'm I'm not mistaken. That had been my first game in like 2 or 3 years, and you and I and my at the time future wife to be all went, and it was raining. It was miserable, and yes, they scored a touchdown. Deshaun Jackson burnt LaRon Landry on the first play of the game. I was in the bathroom at the time. I didn't even believe it happened. I walked down to my seat and we're down 7-0. I'm like, what's going on? Then it was funny because I remember you were trying to leave at halftime.
I damn sure was.
You were, and it was raining. It was miserable. It wasn't fun. And I was like, no, I haven't been to a game for, filled with green. It was ridiculous. When I made you sit through the third quarter, and then at the beginning of the fourth quarter, we were like, all right, let's go. And we were walking up the steps, and there was nothing but Eagles fans just berating us.
Now's our time to change all that.
Yes, we can, right?
I mean,
one name
people
change,
hate
Chase
change.
Young.
People get scared of it. It's time. And I love the Redskins. Hearing you talk about that passion gets me fired up about the Redskins because I grew up going to RFK. I was at the 1991 NFC Championship game in RFK. I was in the seat cushion game and threw my seat cushion. I was there. So much history. Heck, my wife and I, our opening when we were introduced at our wedding was Hail to the Redskins. Our first date was a Redskins-Cowboys game, which the Redskins got beat by, 30 points or something on a rainy Sunday. But it was kind of our first date. And so, fast forward to our wedding, and she said, let's come out to Hail to the Redskins. So, again, that history is with me, but people are so afraid of change. They're so afraid of it's time. It's time. But I love hearing the energy, Joey. I really, really do.
Coach Turner, what you got on that?
It's definitely time. It's been long overdue. I'm excited to get the name out. Like I know we got a little bit of time, and I know they're going through some potential trademark issues in terms of how they can get the name and have it trademarked for them. My favorite is the Red Wolves.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm going with the Red Wolves.
Real quick, winning solves everything.
Winning solves everything.
I mean, not all life problems, but it solves.
When Shaq and Kobe had issues,
right.
You put another trophy up there, and those issues kind of go away for the summer.
Right.
Joey, I do have a question for you. What are we looking for? And we got to make it quick because we gave you a little time on that Redskins part. But what do we look for from the Redskins? Assuming there's a season this year, what are you excited about?
Well, obviously, I'm most excited to watch Ron Rivera work. Ron Rivera is the most important piece to this offseason, to this team, and to this future. He's the one. It sounds like he's the one pulling a lot of the strings about getting this name changed. And he hasn't even touched the practice, or hasn't even touched the practice field or a football with any of the players on the team. So I want to see him. And as far as I know, he's a hell of a man. And he's going to get this team going in the right direction. And aside from him, it's Dwayne Haskins. We need to see development. I think a lot of people are already down on Dwayne Haskins because he had a couple bumps in the road last year, but he also was he was not put in a very good position to succeed. And I think with proper coaching, with a little bit more support, I think he can take a huge step in his sophomore campaign, and I'm very excited to see it.
This is what I need from you. I need a couple of things. I need your Twitter handle. Tell folks your Twitter handle because you are the fantasy man. What's your Twitter handle, Joey?
At Joey T5656.
So Joey T5656 at Twitter. I'm telling you, you want to be a part of his fantasy football leagues. This guy knows his stuff. He knows the third string kicker who's washing cars right now, who will be on someone's opening day roster. That's what Joey knows. Joey, I want to thank you. I need Capital Grill. The guys need Capital Grill. We're going to rely on you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey T.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was nice talking with you today.
You too.
Thanks, Joey.
See you, Joey.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do have to give props to DJ Chrissy behind the board. She is our engineer for each one of these shows. Thank you, Chrissy, for what you do. Gentlemen, let's get into segment 3. I want to talk to you guys about the national coaching experience. Last week, we talked about your respective programs that you run day to day and, of course, in season. But talk to me about the national coaching experience. Coach Casey O'Neill, I know you are with All-America Lacrosse. Coach Steve Turner, you were with USA Basketball. Talk to me about that experience and what does a coach do to get to that stage?
For me, it's I've never coached the actual senior All-America game, and that would be something fun to do. Been able to compete in the Under Armour National Games representing Washington, D.C. To me, it is a complete honor. Got to do it for about 5 years. And the best part is, as we mentioned in our last show, why we do it, mission-driven. It's about the kids. It's about meeting the new young men and then going out there and being able to compete against teams from the South, teams from the West, teams from the Midwest, Southwest, New England, Long Island, Canada, and to see those kids. And as what I really want to point out is be able to compete against the nation. Lacrosse is the fastest growing team sport right now in the world, or in this country. And to see those boys, where people always think that Baltimore and Long Island and Philadelphia and DC and the East Coast is where lacrosse is played best. Those kids coming from the West, those kids coming from the South, they got something to prove. Being able to see Junior Seau's son coming from the West Coast and see him get up and down the field and get after it. It is such an honor to be with those coaches, to be with those people, to compete for those 3 to 4 days, which is normally around in the Under Armour All-America Games, July 4th, but a little bit of a pandemic and some things we got to weave through. So that's going to go on later, and I will not be there this year, but incredible honor, Curtis. So thank you for asking that.
You mentioned that your program locally, you try to get national competition.
Correct.
This just exposes you to another level of that competition where maybe some of your guys are playing in those games, but it's certainly not your entire team. But you get to grow as a coach as well.
Exactly.
Because not only do your players get that in season, now you're getting to expose yourself to national competition as a coach.
Exactly. And you're getting to break bread, maybe go and have a drink with a couple coaches and kind of do some X's and O's and then how they run their warm-ups or how they practice. And again, just sort of exposing yourself to possibly a game in the spring with my team, meeting that guy that's down in Florida. Let's go down to you or come up to us.
They've got a schedule to fill, right?
Yeah, they got a schedule to fill, and or seeing just how they warm up and how they do things. And when you can get like-minded people together like that in a friendly sort of atmosphere,
right.
But it's when the whistle blows, it's game day, and everybody wants to win, and everybody's competitive if you're there.
Well, I mean, this might be a little stretch, but it's like when you're in the boardroom, you want to have diversity in that boardroom because you want to bring different angles to the table. And that's what you want, because there's something that will help your lacrosse team that you'll learn the next time you're in a group of coaches like that.
Exactly.
And you want to put yourself in the room with someone who is better and smarter than you, who's going to challenge you. They don't mind reaching down and lifting you up the ladder as well to help teach you. And I'm sure you do that for coaches who have less experience than you. Coach Turner, USA Basketball, you've done some things over there. The program as a whole, that's a Colangelo program, right? He's involved.
Correct.
And what does that do for you? How do you get there? What do you add to that program? What are you able to take out of that program?
How to get there is still a question I try to answer every day.
Well, you deserve it. That's why.
But I think it comes from what I've been able to do with our program at Gonzaga. And there's a lot of times that we're playing in these showcase events across the country, and the USA Basketball people are there. They're there scouting the next talent that they want to bring into these mini camps and to bring into training camps to put together the best team for USA at different age group and age classes. So I can only assume that being able to be seen where our teams have had some success in some of those events, and being able to know that there are other coaches who've already been a part of it that may have been able to talk to, hey, Steve Turner's a guy that you may want to look at. And I can just say this last year, being a part of it has been a blessing for me. I'm excited to continue to be a part of it. And the thing that I think I get from it is another opportunity to grow. You get to learn from other like-minded coaches and different-minded coaches, but people who are doing the same exact thing and have a lot of the same mission you have in terms of serving these young men every single day to help them become the best student athletes they can be. So that experience for me has been unbelievable, because I've been able to, again, help and grow some of the future stars of tomorrow in the game of basketball, but also be able to learn from some of the best minds in the high school game.
Well, it seems like, I know it keeps you busy. We've had a few Zoom calls and you and I text, and it seems like just about every time we talk, there's something you're preparing for USA Basketball.
So, you go into a pandemic, and now being on the court with the coaches and with the players gets kind of taken away.
Right.
But the ball doesn't stop bouncing. So we found a way to get back together, get on Zoom calls, have some uncomfortable conversations of some of the things that have been going on in the world.
Right.
Bringing on guest speakers who can better us in terms of their knowledge from other aspects of the world, generals, people who are involved in health and wellness for young men and people. And then us being able to go back and look at how can we better what we need to do for these young men when we come back to the court. So going over all of the things, drills, skills, plays, how can we make it all one, so that even though we all teach the game a little differently, when we come to USA Basketball, it's one thought process, and it's USA Basketball, and that's how we're going to teach it.
And being able to not at this time say, woe is me during this pandemic, and being able to adapt to what is going on. Mm-hmm. I love hearing that, and adjust. And then again, it goes back to the kids. Like, what can we do better for the kids? So in a way, it's probably good that a chance to get together, even on Zoom, and reflect and go forward with this.
What I've said all along is that I think this pandemic has done one thing that America needed. We all needed to slow down.
Yep.
Yeah.
We needed to get back to being able to understand what's important and what's real. And I think it goes back to right in your own household, getting back with the family, slowing things down, making sure that everyone's on the same page. We're taking more time to look inside of our houses instead of outside of our houses.
Right.
We're on this busy track of go,
Right.
run. And I think it was just God's way of telling us it's time to slow down, guys.
Right. Because everybody's so wrapped up, at least, when you look at Twitter and things, with negativity right now. Like, woe is me. We can't be on the field or we can't be on the court. But I think you said it best, that we can just slow things down, embrace the uncomfortable time, right? And talk about it.
Definitely.
Being in that uncomfortable time is, there's no other way to grow. What do we teach our kids every day in practice? Like, you think I'm hard on you? What do you think's going to happen when we play St. John's or DeMath or this person? You think this referee is going to care about what you were out? So we got to teach that adversity, and right now we're in it. And I think you said it really well, Steve.
Thanks, Coach.
You took us inside your home, Steve. We have to slow down and see what's important. That's a great segue. You bridged the gap for me to our next topic here. Talk to me, gentlemen. You started the last segment, so we'll start with Steve over here. Talk to me about coaching your own son. Jared is moving into his junior year. What has that been like for you? For those who don't know, Jared Turner is a Gonzaga Purple Eagle, plays for Coach Turner, who is also his father. What has that experience been like, Steve?
It's really been fun. It's given me time to spend a lot of time with him. And it's challenging. There's some major challenges to it. And I guess I'll be as frank as I can. It's trying to make sure people don't think I'm doing daddy basketball. That's been a part that's been very tough for me. Wondering, hey, do people think he's just on the team because he's my child? Is he going to play more minutes just because he's my child? And I certainly haven't handled it that way. I've handled it in the way that I've always taught him when he's playing for anybody that he's played for. You earn your keep. You go out and fight for what you want. You leave it on the line, and you give yourself that best opportunity. I think the best thing that could have happened to him was his freshman year was not playing for me and playing JV basketball. I stayed away. I allowed my coaches to coach him up and get him prepared and get him ready to play for me. And this year,
like you would
any kid,
right?
Any kid, and that's how. No different when I tell the parents when they come in to our program. I'm going to treat you like I treat my own kids. I'm going to hug them.
Now you've put that on the line.
And I've had to do it right back with my own child. I'm going to hug them and love them every single day, but I'm going to push them to be the best version of them that they can be as a young man on and off the court. And for him, this year he unfortunately got hurt. And so he hurt his tibia. So he had some stress fractures. Okay. Went from 5'10" to now 6'6", but during the season was about 6'3", 6'3.5", and growing so fast, he developed stress fractures in his tibia from all the pounding of playing basketball and lacrosse while the bone was still growing and not fully healed. And then we get to this pandemic, and I say kind of the best thing that's also happened was he got rest.
He's getting some rest
because now he's 6'6". But in that, and every day in practice while he was able to play, and even when he wasn't able to play, I treated him no different than I would treat any other kid. You're in here. You're a part of this team. I'm not dad in those 2 hours of practice or game time. It's coach, and then we go back to being father and son when we walk off the court.
Coach O'Neil, how is it? You coach your son. You've raised some trophies or plaques, or you've had some success with your son down there on I Street. Talk to me about that.
As I sitting here and listen to Steve, really beautifully talk about it, the experience, and Steve and I have had those conversations in our offices. He'd come in and ask me about it, or vice versa. And, the one thing I look back on, it went by fast. It went by really fast. And so I think, when we have this time to sit back and answer a question like this, to reflect on it, I wish there was that more time. We've all coached our kids at times, maybe in their youth sports, whether it's the little peewee soccer, or football, or basketball. I coached my daughter in CYO basketball, and I told my son Cole, that when we get to practice, he's going to be just like any other young man. He might get a little of the business if he messes up or talks back. I'm not going to give him anything, nor did he want that. He never wanted to be given anything that he didn't earn, and to watch him be proud to earn time and get on the field, later in his career. Got a lot of talented kids that he grew up with that played hard and worked hard together, and to be able to raise a trophy with him, his junior and senior year was outstanding. And in fact, his first year on varsity was his sophomore year. And that's a year we didn't win a championship, and to go through those moments and that adversity with him and say, let's go do this again. Let's do
Wait
this.
a minute, you got 7 in a row.
And then
his first year, you didn't get one.
Well, he's going to be upset when he hears this podcast, knowing that we're talking about that. But again, it's.
But then you guys redeemed yourself.
And as I said on that last podcast, that year, that 2018 season was probably the sweetest since the first time we won it. And to be able to do that with him and to see those guys work hard. And again, we just mentioned it in the last segment, to deal with adversity, right? That's the number one thing we teach kids in sports, is to deal with adversity and how to react to that. I'm going to say 2 things that I want to that I tell the parents is, because we as parents all the time consume with our kids, and what they're doing is, just tell them at the end of the day. I would tell them in the car, man, I'm proud of you. I love you. And if he wasn't getting time, again, same thing. I'm proud of you. Are you having fun? Just keep getting after it. Because at the end of the day, if the kids want to talk about it, especially our sons in the business that we're in, if they want to talk about it, they will. If they don't, then just leave it alone. Don't push those buttons.
Right.
But again, I'm so proud of him and the man he's become. And it just happened. It went by too fast. I wish I could go back, but we had a good run.
You spoke to some things. I'm still excited for the experience. Like, I haven't really gotten to coach him up yet. He's been on my team, but I haven't really gotten to coach him up yet. Honestly, this time now that we're off is giving me an opportunity to really put more into him than I've really ever had an opportunity to do. So I'm enjoying that part of it, and I'm certainly proud of what he did when he was hurt this year. The one thing I always noticed about him, he's always been a team player, and his willingness to cheer his teammates on when he was hurt and not feel like the woe is me. Like, he stayed into being a part of the team. I look at some of the pictures that we have, especially the night at a GW when we win the DC States.
Yes,
and
indeed.
he's one of the guys jumping up for his teammates and clapping and cheering them on. That means more to me than anything, because it shows me that he's always never been about himself, and he's always going to be about his teammates.
And one other thing that I want to allude, because this has been our careers, to look back at some of the photos and to see my son when he was younger in that locker room with us before a championship game, when he's 13 years old, traveling on the road trips on the bus with us when we go out, you know what I mean? Just being there, and we're in the hotel, he's in my room, and just coming into the team meetings and maybe warming up a goalie or doing some of the little things. It is so cool. But again, there's a fine line, because we all have assistant coaches who might have sons that come through the program and things like that. I mean, this is our jobs. And this could be another topic when we talk about assistant coaches. But, one of the rules that we've kind of put in place with our assistants is we don't need them to be with their sons sort of occupied with that. So we might ask them to step back while their sons are going through the program. Just a lot of different avenues, but man, it went by fast.
It's been fun, Casey.
Enjoy it, Steve.
I always look at your pictures, at the end of those championship runs you've had.
To
see your daughters on the field, your wife on the field, and then to see the last year with you and your son going through it together, and then your wife and your kids being, your daughters being able to enjoy that experience. I don't think you can put a price tag on that. So.
Amen.
When does the coach allow the father to enjoy these moments? So when do you as a coach, Casey, or you, Coach Turner, when do you as the coach, your game is 32 minutes and, your game is faster now because you have a shot clock. But when do you guys, is it on the bus on the way back, or, Coach Turner, when do you get to be dad and enjoy what Jared did on the court or did not do on the court, or whatever it may be?
Well, that experience came a little bit differently for me because he didn't play for me his first year, but sitting in my office, I watch the freshman and JV games all the time, especially at home, and then I go and watch those games on the road, and I'm usually sitting across from the bench and trying to stay out of my coach's way. But, watching him get out there and do his thing a little bit, when he was a freshman on the JV was really fun. I'd say I find a way to kind of enjoy it in the moment. This year, to see him when he scores his first basket this year, get some little tingles inside. You can't show it fully,
right?
But you feel it. So for me, I think I've enjoyed it in the moments when he's done those things that make a good play. Knock down a big 3-pointer. The one time he hits a 3 right in front of me, and you're able to slap him on the butt running back up the court. That means a lot. So for me, it's special moments, and I try to enjoy them in the moment without maybe showing everybody how excited I am for him, and treat it the same way. And then you go back and reflect on it even later on after the game's over.
Yeah.
But when he comes home, he still has to do his chores, right?
Oh, no doubt.
Homework, chores.
No
Coach
doubt.
O'Neil, when did you I know you're his coach, you're his dad first, you're his coach second, you're a leader of young men in your own son and your own home, obviously. But when were you able to, take off the lacrosse hat, the coach hat? When were you able to say, Cole, I was real proud of you today, not as a coach, but as a dad? It was just all, or whatever that conversation is like.
I think it's in those random moments, whether it's in the car ride home. I alluded to before, in those times where, I'm not pushing the buttons to get something out of him, like a reaction or how did today's game go or practice or how you feeling. And when they bring it up, when he brings it to me, because therefore I know he's engaged and wants to talk about it. Maybe a good song comes on in the car when we're riding back or something, or again, just maybe late at night when everyone's going to bed, and usually he and I are watching a show or something and checking in and just having that real conversation. I think it's in those random moments, just when you least expect it, and you got to embrace it and remember it. But seeing the smile on their face when they know they've worked hard for something, to be able to share that with his sisters and Erica, his mom, my wife, it's in those random moments, just out of nowhere, man.
I think as a dad, you tend to put your kid into some tough situations because you want them to grow from them. So I'm always going to try to let him know immediately, maybe not in the middle of a practice, but certainly on the ride home, how proud I am of what he's done.
Right.
And so
you can never do it enough, and sometimes I feel like I need to do it more.
Well, to a teenager, you do it too much, but in the end,
right,
you can never do it enough.
But that, like we said also too in episode 1, I mean, the kids at the end of the day want to know that somebody cares about them. You know what I mean? And I'll get a little emotional too. It's just it's just telling them that you can't do it enough.
You can't do it enough. Can't do it enough.
But the common denominator is chores are going to be done when you get home.
You're dang right.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
All right, last question in this segment. The almost there athlete, Division 1, 2, or 3. You want to be a big fish in a little pond, a little fish in a big pond. And in any order, gentlemen, what about those who have folks in their circle who might not necessarily know the right path for them? You have a yes man in your corner who's telling you, oh man, don't play another year. You could be a first round pick this year, not realizing that if you're a top 10 pick next year in the NFL or the NBA, that's a huge difference in salary and lifestyle versus, you go too soon and now you're a second or third round guy who's hoping to make a practice squad.
So I think one of the beauties of this podcast is, Steve and I were talking about this phone on the other night, is we are, a lot of the podcasts you see, a lot of pros and talking about that. We're going to talk about everything, but we're grassroots. We're dealing with young men and for me, young women that are growing up and in the area, and we can answer these questions. What are the percentages of everybody going pro? It's like 0.1%, in whatever sport. Yeah. And so when you get one shot at high school or one shot at college, I'm going to use the term, you can't make baskets unless you take shots. You cannot score lacrosse goals unless you take shots. So for the big schools and the little schools, you got to take those visits. You got to give them a shot. You got to look at it. What are they offering academically? What are they offering, heck, even in the cafeteria? What does the locker room look like? What are the dorms like? Checking out the big schools, the little schools, and just seeing them all. And look, in our sport, these coaches switch every year. So again, responding to those messages. A coach from a small school wants to see you, being polite, checking it out, seeing, who they are, because they might move to a different school in a couple of years. So really taking that time, and as parents, not looking this as a burden, but we're just talking about our sons. Those road trips to check out schools with my son, I'll never get those back. So you continue to do that. You continue to look at those schools. I don't know. I mean, there's opportunities, Division I, II, III, and club, at least in our sport. But it's going to take patience. I don't know, Steve, what do you think?
I think the big thing you got it. The one thing I learned from Coach Myers, and the one thing he always told our guys during the recruiting process was, go where you're wanted.
True. Yeah.
Like in the end of the day, go where you're wanted. And I go back to what you said, Casey. Kids got to do their homework. Families got to do their homework.
Yeah.
You gotta really see, what coaches are really recruiting. Like, how are they recruiting you? How important do you feel to what you're going to be able to contribute to them when you get there? I think, and then I think the bigger part of it is the other side of it. Is it a place that you could be without the sport?
Exactly.
You don't want to be the guy that's having
Huge.
to transfer
roll
all
the
over
ankle,
the place.
you can't play that season or something. Right.
You got to want to be able to be at a place that, at the end of the day, if I got the sport taken away from me, this is still going to be my home. It's a place where I'm going to be able to grow, get my degree, set up. I always say it's set up those 4 years to set up the next 40. So as much as the sport becomes a part of maybe why that you're looking at that school, make sure that school can give you the opportunity to prepare yourself for life.
And
not just the sport, but life. There you go.
And I want to add to that, because a lot of times everybody thinks their path is going to be the same as, the guy on your left or the guy on your right. There's not one recruiting aspect that I've ever seen. It's like a fingerprint, right? Or like they're all different. Nothing happens the same. So you got to have patience. You got to listen, and you got to trust the right people. And people that, come through our schools here in the DMV, everybody's smart. They know who to listen to. Yeah. They know which avenue and things to go. So I think, that patience and trust and knowing that your path is going to be different than the other guy. Just stay patient.
Well, I always use the term run your own race.
Yeah. Sell yourself too.
Everyone's race is different, and don't get caught into what's happening for the guy next to you. Allow your process to be its process, and trust that process, respect that process. Again, I think what Casey and I do on I Street is we tell the truth. Sometimes these kids are being sold that they're better than what they are, that maybe they're going to a level that they shouldn't be going to. I think it's just important for us as mentors and coaches to these young men is to be able to tell them the absolute truth and where we see them and what their levels are. Now, certainly they may get recruited at different levels, and at the end of the day, it's going to be a choice that's made by them and their families. But I think for us, being mentors to these guys, we have to be able to give them the absolute truth in terms of what level we see them at.
Gentlemen, that ends that segment. Thank you for your answers to those questions. Become a friend or partner of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Friendship and partnership opportunities are available. Simply visit our website at www.turnerando'neill.com and click Partnerships. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Blair O'Donovan, Director of Physical Preparation for the Washington Wizards. His work includes the Jordan Brand Classic, the Washington Caps, the Baltimore Ravens, and he is the co-founder of Healthy Baller. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome to the show Blair O'Donovan. Mr. O'Donovan, are you there?
Yes, hi there.
Hey, we thank you for joining us. We had to patch your call in real quick. I have some guys that I think you're familiar with. And look, if you don't want to talk to them, you can just talk to me. But I have Coach Turner and I have Coach O'Neill here. Gentlemen, please welcome him to our show.
Coach Blair, good to hear your voice.
Hey.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on with us today.
How you doing?
We're good.
Really excited. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Let me just set this up real quick. So Coach O'Donovan has been with Steve and I for many years. I actually met Blair through Steve and how, him working with, Steve's basketball program and players. And we've been together with my lacrosse program for 13 years now. So there's so much history there, friendship, and just Blair is awesome and love seeing that he is with the Wizards now and just doing what he loves. So I'm sure we got some good questions for him, right?
I think we do. Coach, you are with the Washington Wizards. That means you are nowhere near where we are right now. You are down in Orlando. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. The NBA is going to restart in just, well, several days here. Talk to me. Is this like training camp all over again?
Yeah, exactly right. It's like starting another year, just certainly different circumstances and quite a different lifestyle, but certainly unique in a lot of ways. And overall, honestly, been really positive. NBA has done an incredible job with every little detail that you could imagine. I mean, every day I walk through this place and I'm amazed at how much process and structures is going on and been put together and so smooth and free flowing. So it's been incredible. But yeah, it's basically training camp with the most unique, circumstances you could ever imagine.
Yeah, it sounds that way. And I know we've got guys now. I mean, I know we've got guys who are dying to get on the hardwood. Of course, training facilities did open up, so they're able to, I guess, safely return to play in a practice facility. But now we're going to get, 15 guys on the court. We're going to get some 3v3, 5v5. What is your role in getting all of these athletes prepared? Like, what is your day-to-day like? I don't know how much you want to, get into specifics of what you can, but what is your day-to-day like? Where do you fit into all of this?
Yeah, so I'll kind of assuming you guys have a few minutes. I mean, I can honestly say
We've got time. Yes.
Oddly enough, I've been busier within quarantine than I've ever been busier than before. Like it's crazy. The NBA in season is a hectic schedule, as you could imagine, to travel with it's a 7-day a week routine, but for some reason quarantine was just so much busier, and so I was super active in that situation. Doing regular Zoom calls with the players, in touch with guys every day, making sure they have their programs, doing programs with them, leading all the way up to the last 5-6 weeks. We're allowed to get in facility under, again, really strict and unique circumstances, which were really challenging at first. And, day-to-day interaction with players. And then up to now into Orlando, even more so. So like today, for example, we had a practice today at 1:00. We get the day started pretty early. We want to have some weight training opportunities available. And we spent a good 3 or 4 days packing up a huge truck from DC and shipped it on down, brought a ton of weight training equipment. And fortunately, we have like a big conference room, which has been a makeshift, athletic training room / weight room. And so we are fully prepared to train in any circumstance. And so, yeah, so I'm seeing the guys just about every day, doing full team warm-ups. I'm helping out in drills. We'll do a post-practice lift most days. And so, yeah, it is a full-on deal. We're rocking and rolling, ready to go. I'm sure a lot of other teams are just doing the same. Like I said, the NBA has really, and Disney in particular, has accommodated us tremendously well. I mean, you wouldn't believe, just the quality of the courts, and then they've created specific weight rooms, to meet our all of our team needs. Everything's, within really pretty close proximity, which is awesome. And so it's a busy day. So we joke that we have an off day every so often, but the off day is never such thing for people like myself. But it's it is what it is, and I'd much rather keep it moving versus sitting still waiting for something to go on. So taking care of some player in some fashion, just about every day, and it'll be all the way until the day we finish up, which hopefully is going to be quite a while. We got a good group. Guys are working really hard. Mentality is super positive, and there's probably a lot of factors in that. We got a young team, hungry kids. We got some free agents that are trying to showcase their talents for the next contract. We've got, we're just getting back into basketball. So all those things factor into a very motivating environment, a high-paced environment, and it's been a lot of fun so far. So
Blair, Steve here. I got an opportunity today to see a little bit of what you guys do. Troy Brown has got his video blog going, so I saw the Zoom call.
Nice. Okay.
Zoom call in the morning. Doing yoga and stretching and different calisthenics in their bedrooms, rolling out with like we used to do with the lacrosse balls, bands tied to the balcony doors and so I know you're going to be innovative. You're going to find a way to make it happen. I think the blessing to my program, and I always tell everybody, a lot of people say, what was the key to some of your success? It started with you. It started with you bringing an innovation in where our guys started understanding how much their bodies needed to be taken care of to allow themselves to be the best athlete they can be. And I still want to just keep telling you how much I thank you and appreciate you for being that guy who brought that to our program. And what I would like to ask you is if you could just talk a little bit to people who are listening, how important that is for the youth of today, being able to make sure that their bodies are in the right place so they can be the best athlete they can be.
Yeah, great question. And first of all, that your words mean so much to me. I mean, both you and Casey, the Gonzaga family has been such a staple in my career, staple in my life. And I miss it as much as anything I've ever done, honest to God. And so I really appreciate all you guys and the Gonzaga community for allowing me to help them. But yeah, coming back to the question, I really feel like this quarantine period, I think was a great opportunity for people to figure some things out. I'm really hoping that a lot of kids that had the downtime were able to utilize it to work on things they wouldn't normally work on, because let's think about it. It doesn't matter what sport you do. When are you ever going to have whatever it is, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks of not doing sport? When does that ever happen? Okay. So, hopefully it will never happen again, So, I'm hoping that for those athletes that were able to take advantage of could reap the benefits and realize that, hey, if I put a little bit of time in each day and start building that foundation, it's gonna provide me some benefit down the road. But let's subtract the COVID situation and just pretend like we're back in the normal mix of let's just speak basketball for the moment. But lacrosse isn't that much different. You've got the basketball season, lacrosse season, and then after that you've got club or AAU, and then you've got summer showcases and camps and this and that, and then you rinse, wash, repeat. What's the difference? So in my opinion, I really feel like, I don't know that there's a perfect ratio out there, but I really feel like with all the hours kids put on the court and all the hours the kids put on the field to make themselves better from a skill perspective, you've got to put a fraction of that into your body. And, the tough part, honestly, is we can't expect a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old kid, or even much more above that or below that to understand what to do. How do you do the right thing? Shoot, I was 7th and 8th grade where I found interest in this field because I wanted to have the secret recipe to jump higher, to run faster. And I was looking at books in the library. And I still didn't know what the heck I was doing, So it's tough. It's tough. So how, as a young kid, I mean, how do you know, even if you're doing basketball skill work, how do you know if what you're doing is getting you better? Because it's always going to be frustrating. You're dribbling, you're working on your handle, and you're kicking the ball all over the place. And even though as an adult, we know, hey, you're getting better because you're pushing outside the comfort zone. How do you really know? So it's tough. It's tough for the young kids. And I think they need to have good instruction, good direction. But also, understand, talking to a coach, have a coach that understands the balance of, they spend hours running up and down the court, running up and down the field. That's a stress. That's a stress like anything else. And just because they're young, it doesn't mean that they can do any type of weight workout or weight training or hundreds of push-ups a night. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. But, I'm in my 20th. I'm just about in my 20th year of training in general since I first have worked full time. And I can say adamantly now more than ever that kids should be strength training even at a younger age. Now, that's a pretty broad term, strength training. So that could mean anything from body weight exercise to holding light weight. It doesn't infer the normal picture that parents, uneducated parents to the weight training scene would think is naturally back squatting with a heavy weight on your back and a belt and strain and that sort of thing. So I think there's so much benefit to learning movement. Think about it. If you think about it, kids are strength training at a younger age than you would ever think is even reasonable. Like
Right.
climbing on the monkey bars is a form of strength training.
Yes.
Hanging on the monkey bars, for goodness sakes. So should we not do that? No, of course we should, because you're developing, so many different capacities, characteristics and capacities within the body and brain, to help them become more coordinated and athletic, So like I said, right now, this day and age, and I'm dealing with the type of clientele I'm dealing with, which is the elite level NBA athlete, and then coming from my business, Healthy Baller, which is where I had mostly high school, majority high school kids and handful of college kids, and small number of pros. There's a lot more one and done type of athletes. And what am I seeing with these one and done type of athletes? I'm seeing a lot of tendonitis, and it's funny enough that it seems to be no coincidence. The athletes that are well strength trained or have been through somewhat of a comprehensive program at some stage in their life, they tend to have less, less incidents of tendonitis. And that's exactly what I'm seeing right now in just the 2 years that I've spent in the NBA. And the guys that have had tendonitis, once they've gone through a pretty extensive bout of strength training, that stuff starts to go away. Big shocker. So I think taking care of yourself as a young kid, you think about all the things we ask these kids to do, man. I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. They got soccer practice on a Saturday morning, then they got a basketball game in the afternoon, then they might have some other sport. It's a lot of stress. And then, we can't assume these kids are sleeping really well because they got the phones in their face all day long.
Right.
We're definitely not eating. We're not eating fantastic, because an on-the-go family and an on-the-go athlete is just that. They're at the mercy of what's available, and that's nobody's fault. That's you can't blame the AAU team that has $200 to service 12 kids. Where you're going to go? You're not going to Morton. You know what I mean? And so that's the reality. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, and I really want people to know, whether they know my business or not, the Healthy Baller, the intention there is for those athletes, parents, coaches to know that there is a healthy way to get through this process. There's steps to take. Are they perfect? Are they going to keep you resilient from every injury known to man? No, because if nobody ever got injured, there wouldn't be all these smart doctors and therapists and trainers and coaches. There wouldn't be any of that stuff. It's impossible to truly prevent injury. I think every step in the process is a way to slightly reduce the severity, or reduce the incidence or the frequency, right? So, some stuff just happens sometimes. I mean, you shake your head like, man, it's really hard to pinpoint exactly what might have caused something. But if we get our sleep, if we eat well, if we work on our stress levels, if we build our body to be a robust, strong, resilient athlete, you're probably not going to get injured as much, and that's just the reality of what happens, So sorry, I was kind of a long-winded answer.
No worries.
Love it.
No worries at all. Blair, I need to know, how do people find you and Healthy Baller? Please give them your social media, your website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I appreciate it. So Healthy Baller, it's pretty much just that. Find it on Instagram. I'm gonna do my best to start posting a few things here in Orlando, so the folks can kind of see a little bit of the day into my life. But yeah, so right now, Healthy Baller, I can say on IG, my business partner Matt Boyd. I'm so thankful to be working with and have him as a friend and a partner, because he's just running the show and kicking butt. They're doing a tremendous job sharing what we're doing on a regular basis at Healthy Baller. We are open. We are operating outside for the most part at the moment. We're going to be transitioning inside soon.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate what you do for these professional athletes on the floor. Blair, we thank you for your time. Enjoy the Orlando sun. Enjoy the wonderful food, the campus down there. We don't call it a bubble. They're in a campus down there. Ladies and gentlemen, Blair O'Donovan and Healthy Baller.
If you have a question for the fellas, submit your question or show idea right on our website. Go to www.turnerandoneil.com and click Submit Your Idea.
We've got questions from our listeners, our email bag. This week we got 3 great questions. We're going to start with number 1. Carlos from Silver Spring wants to know from the coaches, what skills or attributes do high school athletes need the most when making the jump from high school athletics to college? Coach O'Neill.
Well, first off, thanks, Carlos, for submitting the question. Love this this part of our broadcast here. So one of the big things, going to the next level is that speed. That speed is going to be so much faster. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you agree with that, Steve?
No
like,
doubt.
I mean, it's just – and then you also get there and everybody else is really good. I don't care if you're at Division 1, 2, 3 level. Everybody else is ready to go. Everyone else is hungry, especially when you come in as a freshman, that they want to prove who they are, what they can do, or prove to the coaches. Because when you get to college, nothing worth anything is just given to you. You know what I mean? The time and everything. They might have said those things in recruiting meetings, but it's a start over. So you got to be ready for that speed. You got to be ready to commit. You got to be ready to compete. We talked about that a lot in the first episode, that compete level. And then kind of you're on your own. Mom and dad aren't there. You're in college. Just figuring out that balance of your schedule. So there's a lot that goes into it. Steve?
I think physicality, along with the speed,
True, yeah.
becomes the next factor. And I think doing what we do and trying to treat our programs at the high school level like a college allows our kids to have an advantage going into the next level and being prepared for that. I think kids have to realize that, you talked about it a little bit, time is going to be a little different. There's going to be a lot more free time. Your schedule is, 2 classes maybe a day. So most days maybe 3 hours at max of classes compared to a full school day in high school, where now you've got to manage time. You got to know when to go get rest, get your body taken care of, get to the training room, meet with coaches to learn concepts, techniques, plays. So the mental is also a big piece to that.
Right.
And then it's just the balance. I think, I think attributes are not just the physical pieces of being skill level and speed. There's also a mental aspect to this that you got to be prepared for going into the next level. And those would be some of the things that I would say you got to be ready to do and be ready to be prepared for.
Question 2. Aaron in Newport News, Virginia would like to know, will the back to the basket big man ever make a comeback in basketball?
You want the lacrosse guy to jump in on this?
Well,
first?
we're talking back to the basket. We're talking Dikembe. We're talking the Dream Shake. Let's not talk about the Dream Shake. Is that style of basketball, Coach Turner, are we going to see that again?
I don't think anytime soon.
Okay.
I mean, I think the game, as you look at it, is gone international. It's why there's so much emphasis on USA basketball at the youth level now, compared to just what you used to see with the college guys, and then all of a sudden we brought in our superstars to go win Olympics. You're seeing a game that is becoming positionless and a lot about playing around the 3-point line. And you've got centers now who knock it down just as good as the guards. You look at Porzingis, he's a 7-footer that can knock it down from deep. KD wants to say he's 6'11", but he's 7 foot. And we know what he can do from downtown. But I think you're seeing a game where the spacing, the way that the game is being played, I don't see the Shaqs, and I don't see the Patrick Ewings and the Alonzos and the old Dream Shake, as you said.
Did you just name 2 Georgetown Hoyas?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
They were blessed down there. You call it what?
Big man U.
They had, let's talk about that for a second. Ewing, Mutombo, Mourning,
Othello.
and
Othello.
we'll throw some love at Othello, right? Othello Harrington. Yeah, they got some Big John got some big men down there.
He did an unbelievable job with the post player.
Yes, he did. And you mentioned some big guys. You got Brooke Lopez. I mean, you've got, you got Jokic. You've got Joel Embiid. You've got guys, and of course Porzingis, who are out there. These guys are, if you don't know, it's 24 feet. It's 23.9, I think, is the NBA line. You got guys shooting from 25 feet. When you have Dollar Dame who's shooting from 35 and Steph who's shooting from 40, I mean, these big guys are not too shabby in their ability to stretch the floor, which makes you a nightmare to defend for a big guy who doesn't want to, play that far out.
But as a basketball traditionalist that I am, and I love the sport of basketball, it's my favorite sport. Don't tell all the, well, I guess they all heard it. But
they heard it now, brother.
They heard it now. if you got your back to the basket, what takes away with the speed of the game that you were just talking about, and even in our sport too, you turn your back to the goal. I mean, you're getting a slide, somebody's coming and doubling on you right there. But the rebounding aspect, that's the one thing. If that ever goes away, I'm done.
So you're a Bill Lambier, like Dennis Rodman kind of.
I just appreciate extending plays and those hustle
Ben
plays.
Wallace.
Yeah, God.
I think
biggest mistake the
he
Wizards
was in
ever
Division
made.
I, was he? He went to Virginia Union, didn't he?
He went to Virginia Union.
Yeah.
But it's those hustle plays. I agree with you that I think the back to the basket is going to go away. But if you get away from those hustle plays, those rebounding, just the second chance plays that we just take for granted.
Well, Casey, I don't think that'll happen. I think if you watch the game now,
right.
Draymond Green, there are going to be guys who are specialists.
Sure.
No different in the game.
We have in our sport,
of lacrosse. There are going to be guys who are specialists to certain things that they do that matter for a team or for an organization on the court. The guy who can go rebound, the guy who can defend, the guy, of course, the guys who can shoot. I think you're going to see some guys who maybe in college that you kind of overlook. You say, he's not a pro. And then the next thing you know, he's got a 10 to 12-year career.
Because he can rebound better than anyone.
Because he can rebound better than anybody. Because he can knock down a wide-open shot better than anybody. I think it's going to allow the game of basketball to let some guys that you could assume that maybe, he's not a pro. Next thing you know, again, he's making millions of dollars just to stand in a corner and knock down threes or to go grab every rebound.
To be Danny Green.
No doubt.
Right.
Here's my question, though. So if you do find someone who's proficient with their back to the basket, and because we don't see that as much anymore, are they going to be tougher to defend because we're not going to teach how to defend that? I'm trying to teach my daughter to play with her back to the basket. Is there a path for her?
First of all, I don't think you ever turn down teaching the kids a skill set that is still a piece of the game. Sure. Now, it's not as big of a piece of the game anymore, but it's still a piece of the game. I mean, you got to watch what the NBA teams do. How many times do you watch late in the game when you need a quick bucket? Post up LeBron.
Dump it down low.
Post up
down
KD.
low. And
you see guards posting up now. So that part of it won't ever go away. It'll still be an attribute that's a piece of the game. It's just not the first piece anymore.
Right.
I mean, most teams used to build their team around the center. Now they're building their team around the best shooters.
Sure. Flashing to the ball, being able to square up and see things, moving parts that are happening. So keep teaching it.
Ladies and gentlemen, each week we are going to answer some questions. We want to hear from you, so just send us an email, turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. We won't use all questions, but we're going to try to get as many of them as possible into the mix.
Be sure to connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and then subscribe.
Segment 4, gentlemen, let's jump right into it. When do sports return to normal? We have pro, we have college, we have high school sports, we have baseball who's returning to action. A lot of players have opted out. I assume they're doing daily testing, but these guys are not on an island in a bubble, so I got to believe they're going home to their families or mixing it up. The dugouts are kind of close quarters. College, we have the Ivy League and the Patriot League have canceled their fall seasons, and I don't want to speculate, but you don't see the Big Ten or SEC yet. The Ivy and Patriot League probably don't have as many dollar signs on the line to think about. In high school, you guys are coaching a high school sport, albeit with an aggressive high school schedule. But when does this return to normal?
I don't know that that answer can be made today. I think when you watch the sports right now that are starting to return to play, I have to say that the sport that I coach kind of seems to be doing it right, and I'm not learning that from the NBA yet because they haven't gotten into games yet, but they're certainly sitting in this bubble and trying to make it happen. But you saw the TBT, the basketball tournament, and they kept their guys in the bubble. I forget, are they in Ohio?
But I mean, where are they?
They're now into the finals.
Oh, okay. So they're there.
So one of the things that was going to happen is if a team had a player come up or test positive, they were out. That was going to knock them out of the tournament. Okay. And they did not have to have that happen throughout this whole tournament. They're down to the finals. The two teams who did their thing and won their games are left standing, and they were able to right now put off a tournament where they didn't have to end it because of COVID.
Now, do they have spectators, or how is this working?
No spectators, but the essential workers, and they're masked up.
Limited teams.
They're testing every single day.
Okay.
Multiple tests. They were quarantined before they got started.
Okay, the whole course.
And it's kind of the model that you're seeing with the NBA and how they've started back to practice and play down in Orlando. So my hopes are that those guys will stay fine down there and stay in the bubble, and not leave the bubble, to make sure that we can have NBA basketball back on TV.
I heard from one of the players who said, we're not complaining about food, the accommodations, or anything. We just miss our families. And one of them, they were on IG Live saying, today's my daughter's birthday. I can't be there, and I wish I could. But other than that piece, we would rather be nowhere else. So that's what I'm hearing from down there. Of course, we heard from Blair earlier, who painted a picture for us, which makes it seem as though the NBA is making the accommodations right and all of that. But as far as you, Coach O'Neil, he addressed the professional level. Talk to me about on the college level. There's some decisions not only amongst schools but amongst conferences. And
right.
Does this change what players do, players' eligibility? I'm of the opinion that we're going to have limited at best a fall season for sports. So what are you thinking this is going to look like?
It's hard to say. You mentioned the Ivy League, the Patriot League, Division III level, the NESCAC, which is those New England schools up in the the Northeast. It's really hard to say. I do want to take a step back and from what the Nationals pitcher, I heard him say, Sean Doolittle, he said that professional sports is a reward for a functioning society. And so you have so many different pockets from the west to the south to the north to the east of people doing things or returning to sports in different aspects and facets. Everybody wants to rush back. And I think the key phrase is patience and figuring this out. I know it's uncomfortable. I know the kids want to play. Answer is, Curtis, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think best case scenario, everybody wants fall sports in our area to maybe start a little bit later. You can take the model of what maybe the Big Ten or the ACC, and I think what some of the SEC schools are doing, where right now they're stating that they'll just play their conference games maybe a little bit later.
I've read that, yeah.
So, that is an idea, but in the DMV, Northern Virginia's got different kind of comeback rules than what the district has. The district is one of the most conservative in all of this. And with, where we are across the street from the Department of Health, we're under a lot of legal aspects and guidelines that we have to follow. So everybody wants to get back onto campus slowly. Everybody wants to get back to sports. We got to be patient. We got to work together. And as we said earlier in these uncomfortable times, it's given us a chance to maybe adjust and adapt to what we can do safely.
So do you feel like the fans in the stands portion is that's negligible because there's still another huge piece?
I think potentially. I can't say for sure, but I certainly think potentially. Because we know how much money goes into TV and advertising for all sports. I go back and you talked about, the pros in college. I talk about us. I'm one of the ones. I would love nothing more than to be back on a court working with our players.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I think safety has to be the number one priority. And I think you have to think getting back to school first. I still feel for Casey, who didn't have his season in the spring. And his young men had to go out and play 2 games and then have it shut down on them. I don't want to see that for our kids this year. I want to see if we are having an opportunity to come back to play, whether it's big or small, that these kids get an opportunity to have that be a part of their high school experience. That's so important to them. Mm-hmm. I know that we preach the education, and I know that's a major piece to what we do on our street. But I know how much and how important it is for these kids to be able to live that aspect and support each other in that way, and just be able to take advantage of some of their God-given talents, which have allowed them to have opportunities to go to college. So I'm so prayerful that we just continue to slow roll it, get back to a normalcy when it's time to. As I said before, I think a big part of what has happened with COVID allowed us to get back to family, get back in the house, and allow to put our values on what's most important.
And be ready. You have no excuse not to be.
Well, Blair talked about
ready.
that, right?
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it would be awful to come back and, you weren't ready to go. So just be ready. Like every day it's going to be that time, for the kids to get back. And you're right, Steve, we lost that entire season. And we had been talking about the word empathy because we were dealing with, ups and downs in an early season and realizing that we're not alone in this. We're not the only team that's not playing. I mean, this is around the country, around the world. Yeah. So, learning those lessons.
I was going to say, I think definitely learning lessons. We talk about it. I mean, Casey, think about it. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
When we talk to our kids about what if the game was ever taken away from you? Like, cherish it, value it, enjoy the moments that you have in it, and don't take anything for granted because we never know. It could come from an injury. Certainly right now we're seeing it in all sports and all across the world that it's coming from a pandemic. So, we want our kids to just continue to cherish and value what means the most. And I think at the end of the day, you gotta start at home with your family, and God's gonna put us back in a place where we're gonna be able to have these sports again, and just keep working hard.
That's the end of our program. We want to thank our sponsors, the Tamara Cusick team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment. I know our entire community here at the Turner and O'Neill podcast, Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, are thankful for those sponsors, and our entire community has worked hard. We've got friends of the program. You can look forward to seeing that on our website, turnerando'neill.com, and we've got some sponsors coming in this very week. So remember, if you want to be a friend or partner, $25 minimum contribution on the Friends tier, $250 minimum contribution on the partnership level will get you there. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. So follow, like, add, and spread the word. Go to our website and click Submit Your Idea. If you have questions, submissions, listen, we're not above criticism. We want to hear the kind of show you guys and you gals want to hear. So let us know what we're doing right. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Not all submissions or questions will be used. Each week, we'll read questions on the podcast. So send us your comments, critiques, and thoughts. Coach O'Neill, Coach Turner, DJ Chrissy, our engineer, and Paula P., we want to thank you for being a part of this broadcast, episode 2. Coach Turner, you first. You got anything to close out with?
I just want to say, man, this has been unbelievable. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for helping make this happen for Coach O'Neill and I. And let's keep this thing rolling.
Yes, indeed. And I do have some folks that we want to thank specifically because they've been friends to the program. I want to thank Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Paula Cross, Amy O'Neill Richards, Sean Clifton, Justin O'Neill, and Marcus Taylor. I want to thank you folks for being friends of the program. However, as we end the show each week, we end with a quote. My quote last week, Coach Casey's quote this week. The floor is yours, sir.
I appreciate it. I actually have 2 quotes. They kind of work well together.
You pay for the second quote, though.
Okay, $25 is coming your way. Actually, no, it's the gear I brought in tonight.
Excuse me. That was owed to me, ladies and gentlemen, from a few times ago, but that's cool. We'll take that as payment.
The quotes. One of my favorites I say to the boys all the time. I love the word courage. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. And the next part of this quote is very simple, and it's don't wait to care. If I had waited on this idea and Steve had waited on his idea and I didn't give you that phone call, we wouldn't be here. So don't wait to care. And then when we met, you saying, well, I got a friend named Curtis. I know this guy Curtis. Check out this email he sent me 2 years ago. And if we had waited to call Curtis and to be able to hear with DJ Chrissy and everybody, wouldn't be here. So courage is fear that has said its prayers. And don't wait to care, folks. See y'all soon.
Next week, Coach Turner is on the clock. Your quote coming up next. Next week, Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Curtis Cross. She is DJ Chrissy behind the board. DJ Chrissy, we love you. Don't you worry about a thing. We love you. And thanks for the gear, Coach. And we'll see you next week, guys.
Take a TO with Coaches Turner and O'Neill is brought to you by the Tamara Cusick team and Dynamic DJ Entertainment. Partnership opportunities are available. Questions and submissions to the podcast can be submitted by going to www.turnerando'neill.com. All submissions will be reviewed for content and may or may not be included in a future podcast. When submitting content, you agree to the use of your likeness and social media identity, should we choose to include your content. No compensation is offered for submitted content. Where possible, credit will be given for creative content. Take a TO with Coaches Turner and O'Neill is produced by Curtis Cross and engineered by DJ Chrissy. You may contact us on social media at Turner O'Neill Podcast or by visiting www.turnerando'neill.com. You may also email the show at turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com.